Today on Earth Focus, killing dolphins and dying for lobsters. An original investigation exposes dolphin slaughter in Peru, and filmmakers uncover the human cost of lobster diving in Nicaragua. Coming up on Earth Focus.
Lima is one of the largest cities in South America, the capital of Peru, and the heart of its fishing industry. I'm standing in one of half a dozen fish markets that dot across Lima and Peru. Behind me here are dozens of species of fish, but one of these dishes, toyo, or shark, is particularly popular. Caught in huge numbers around the Peruvian coast, this shark dish is coming at a cost, say environmentalists, a cost to dolphins. They claim that every year thousands of dolphins are being butchered illegally out at sea in order to catch these sharks. We're going to go and find out. One environmentalist worried about the dolphins is marine biologist Stefan Austermuhl.
The Pacific Ocean in front of the Peruvian coast is the most bioproductive ocean in the world. We are catching here 10% of the world's fish catch. That means there's a lot of food around in form of anchovies and other small pelagic fish. And where there's a lot of food, all the guys that eat that food will come by and have their part. And that means we have here more than 30 species of whales and dolphins. The fact that dolphins are killed in shark fisheries here in Peru is an open secret in the entire industry. Everybody that works in the fishing industry knows it. All the governmental representatives know it. And even the NGOs working in the ocean, they know it. But nobody talks about it because you can't prove it. How do you want to prove something that happens tens or hundreds of miles offshore that you have never been seen?
We were introduced to a former fisherman who agreed to speak openly about the hunting of dolphins.
Sí, lo he visto. La primera vez fue en la primera salida que hice a los animales. Salí no en espinel, sino con redes. Y yo encantado de verlos, me gustaba mucho. Y de repente veo que sacan la punta del arpón, la ponen en la lanza. Y yo digo, ¿y qué es esto? ¿Para qué? Para la carnada. Y ahí recién conocí lo que era el asesinato de delfines, ¿no? Me chocó bastante ver la forma tan cruel como se lo caza y aún estando vivo cómo se lo golpeas y lo abres, lo desangras, todo para poder sacar la carne, aprovecharla para la carnada. Es bien fuerte, tendrían que verlo para que puedan entender un poco lo que se siente, ¿no?
I went to see for myself if these stories are true, if fishermen really are hunting dolphins on the open seas. So we've arrived at this desert fishing town in the middle of Peru. This is where we've arranged to meet the longliner fishing boat that's going to take us out for the next week out into the Pacific Ocean. In exchange for payment towards fuel costs, and on strict condition of anonymity, we managed to gain access onto a shark fishing boat. Once on board, the captain agreed to an interview, but only if we concealed his identity.
Yo entiendo que el delfín está prohibido, ¿ya? Pero yo por necesidad tengo que tener un instrumento en el cual me economice a mí los gastos. Todas las embarcaciones que se dedican al tiburón o a la pesca de altura Tienen artesanalmente la espoleta y la varilla. Lo tienen en stock, a un costado, listo nada para trabajar. Ellos salen a trabajar a la zona de pesca. Si el delfín se les cruza en el camino, bien por ellos. Lo matan y lo suben. En una salida al tiburón, nosotros cazamos 2 delfines, un delfín, dependiendo de la carnada que tengamos. Y claro, por supuesto, si el delfín también se aparece, porque hay veces que el delfín no aparece ni por nada. 0, 0, 0, maldito 0. Agarró.
If we kill an animal to eat it, a cow or a pig or something like this, we have very strong regulations. The animal has to be killed within very few seconds. But if you have an animal and you get a harpoon rammed into it and have it then struggling for 10 or 15 minutes on a line to get weak and to bleed out slowly, and then you lift it on board and you cut into the living animal, still living animal, with a knife in order to cut deep into it around the neck and have it bleed to death, that's not humane. That's not a humane killing. That is cruel, very painful, and a very long death.
After the crew brought the dolphin on board, they slaughtered it for bait. The following footage is graphic, and some viewers will find it disturbing. What we saw yesterday was the hunting of wild dolphins. It's never been caught before on film, and we managed to record it. The killing of intelligent mammals like dolphins is terrible at the best of times. The killing of them to be used as fish bait is unthinkable.
Pescamos delfines, ¿por qué? Porque la caballa, la carnada, para el tiburón, la caballa cuesta muchísimo y el delfín, cazándolo, no te cuesta nada. Cuando arranqué con el tiburón, a la pesca del tiburón, usaba un promedio de 100 a 150 anzuelos. A medida que la población de embarcaciones ha ido creciendo, el tiburón también se ha ido escaseando. Entonces he tenido que aumentar de 150, 200, 300 hasta 800. Hay algunos compañeros que llegan hasta 1200. ¿El por qué? Es porque simplemente ya no hay pesca igual que antes. La carne de delfín es efectiva para el tiburón azul. A lo que yo puedo sacar conclusión es que el delfín sangra muchísimo y el tiburón azul como que no sé, que le gusta la grasa, porque el delfín es pura grasa, es pura grasa.
These sharks are the catch after fishing for one day, using the dolphin as bait. Travelling back to Lima, I wanted to talk to people who knew more about the hunt. I showed my footage to Stefan Austermuhl, who works for the conservation group Mundo Azul, which first spoke out about the hunting of dolphins in Peru a decade ago.
We have been hearing for many, many years now from basically every fisherman we talk to that in any fishing trip for sharks, up to 4 to 5 dolphins are getting killed. So make your math, that's 5,000, 15,000 dolphins per year, depending on how many shipping trips you're counting.
The killing of dolphins in Peru has also caught the attention of scientists throughout the world. In recent decades, studies have tried to track the dolphin deaths, both accidental and deliberate.
There are 15,000 to 20,000 dolphins and porpoises being killed per year in Peru, which is a globally significant. It's a huge number of dolphins and porpoises along the coast of Peru still dying, and that's what we believe is happening to this day. We're talking serious impact on dolphins and porpoises.
The dolphin that was killed in your footage is a dusky dolphin. That's an offshore population. These are dolphins that live in groups. They can travel in groups of 3, and they can travel in groups of 1,000 or more animals. And they travel all the time behind the big fish swarms, and they hunt on the fish. They're very fast swimmers, and according to science, their population is threatened.
How do you feel knowing that these dolphins are being killed in huge numbers simply for shark bait?
Knowing that dolphins are killed in such numbers for shark bait is just crazy. It's driving me crazy because you kill one top predator in order to kill another top predator. So you take away all the top predators. So you change entirely the balance of the ecology in the ocean, because the role, the function of these top predators, sharks and dolphins alike, they are a team here. They keep the ocean healthy. They catch the old, the sick fish, and they keep the fish population healthy. If you don't do that anymore, you will get diseases, you will get all kind of negative effects, and basically you're killing the resources the fishermen need.
But the fishermen aren't only using dolphins for bait. Some of the meat ends up being sold alongside fish.
Some of that meat comes back for human consumption, but then it's hidden under fish or in sacks, and an official observer would see that on the pier. So it's a well-organized smuggling system for human consumption. Nowadays, dolphin meat is the cheapest meat that you can find on the market. A kilo of dolphin meat is sold for about 4 soles, that is about $1.60 for an entire kilo of meat. You will find it only on the markets where the poorest people in Peru go shopping, and it's a cheap source of protein.
Other fishermen we spoke to, however, suggest that dolphin hunting doesn't take place. Filiberto Sanchez Diaz works for the Artisanal Fisheries Association.
Y nosotros amamos a delfines, cuidamos a delfines. Hay veces hay muerte, pero muerte incidental, sin quererlo. Pero no, el delfín no es para nada desastroso, al contrario, nosotros pescadores estamos contentos con ellos.
I am surprised to hear that they claim they don't know it happens, because you know that there's a lot of published literature in the scientific community as well as non-government groups. There's no way that anybody can deny this is happening. The proof is there, the photograph, the film, it's all there.
There are, at the last count in 2010, over 500 boats like the one we travelled on for a week. If, as the testimonies we've recorded are true, on each trip they kill on average of 2-3 dolphins, and they're doing over a dozen trips each year, that means thousands of dolphins being killed to be used as shark bait.
If you kill animals at this level, it's going to have a severe impact on the numbers, and I fear for dolphins and porpoises in Peru. I really do. I think it's decades now of impact at this level, so I think that it's urgent. We need to take action now to secure their future, definitely.
1,600 miles north of Peru and Nicaragua, another industry, lobster fishing, is causing harm to both the environment and people. In their film, My Village, My Lobster, filmmakers Josh Wolff and Allgood capture the untold story of lobster tales.
My Village, My Lobster is a 1-hour documentary about indigenous Miskito lobster divers along Nicaragua's Miskito coast who risk their lives diving for the region's most lucrative resource, the Caribbean spiny lobster. Commercial lobster diving in Nicaragua and Honduras is one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. They dive to depths that are unsafe, they do not follow safe diving practices, and the gear that they use does not allow them to dive safely.
Commercial fishing for Caribbean spiny lobster is a multi-million-dollar industry. Half of the lobster caught in Central America, worth about $28 million annually, comes from fishermen in one country, Nicaragua.
Along Nicaragua's Caribbean coast, lobster diving is the largest industry, so there's a financial incentive for them to dive for lobster. Right now, lobster divers are making somewhere between $2.50 to $3.50 per pound of lobster tail that they catch. And there are a few other economic opportunities for Miskito Indians along the coast, and there's not a lot of educational and professional opportunities as well.
There used to be so many lobsters that you could walk out into the sea and just fish them out by hand. And then the commercialization of lobster diving was introduced, and that sped up, the depletion of the lobster stock closer to shore, and it's just moving deeper and deeper and deeper. And that, in turn, is causing these instances of decompression sickness, because these men are diving deeper and they're staying out for longer periods of time.
When divers get the bends at sea, their only hope is to be rushed to shore. There, they receive emergency treatment in Nicaragua's only hyperbaric chamber. If they don't receive treatment quickly, the chances of paralysis and permanent injury are almost certain.
Tiempo es básico, es primordial para atender y ayudar al paciente, porque a mayor tiempo, mayor daño, y el daño se va a volver irreversible en un determinado tiempo.
For Pika, an injured diver, it was this rapid treatment in the chamber that saved his life in 2007.
Operas cover 21 days talagritem. Kabura dia duri bilara living at a black aida okaniaba, tuki aida okan camera bilara kono. Ba 2 hours and 2 hours up I think again. Bara is again. 21 days talagritem when a maka opere. Opula pahpera lagi.
Treatment in the chamber is not an end-all solution for injured divers. It can reverse some of the acute symptoms of decompression sickness, but divers' limbs are rendered unusable without physical therapy that can last for months or even years.
A lot of times, divers don't get the physical therapy that they need, and they don't get the medical care that they need to either recover or to prevent serious infections and possibly eventual death.
Ustedes también aquí miran cómo en el calle, miran en el hospital, cuántos buzos muertos, cuántos lisiados andan en silla de ruedas y nadie le ayuda, pobrecito. Hay bastante sufrimiento. Solo no es el buzo que anda en silla de ruedas, algunos mueren y los hijos también sufren bastante. Y los esposas le dejan y se corren porque el hombre parece como un niño. No puede cuidar, entonces la esposa tiene que buscar un trabajo. Se enferman del cuerpo hasta que salen, caen gusanos y ¿quién va a estar limpiando ese? El suplemento de los buzos, ese tiene el problema el dueño de los barcos, porque los dueños de los barcos, cuando está bueno el cuerpo sí quiere, pero cuando se enferma lo tiran como basura. El hombre que saca el producto y le da respeto.
I was diving about 10 years. From there get paralyzed. Y ahora estoy aquí. Nada de ayuda. Los empresarios son duros.
Estoy luchando la vida duro. 9 años.
Andrew began diving for lobster at the age of 13. When he was 22 years old, he suffered a severe case of the bends. He's been paralyzed ever since.
A 7 tanques ya me sentí un mareo. Pero ya tenía pegado los langostas ahí, botado, y tuve que ir a recoger y ahí me pegó. Me sentí algo cuando me pegó en la columna, un golpe. Me pegó y un mareo en medio del mar y tuve que hacer la parada. Ya era como las 6 de la tarde, ya era noche. Y el otro buzo vinieron y me llevaron a hacer la parada, a descompresarme bajo el agua. Ahí me tuvo casi como 7 de la noche todavía bajo el mar. Y son dolores que estoy muriendo y aguantando. Así hay veces un mareo en la cabeza, calentura, me paso siempre. Parece que está infectado la herida también. Y estuve internado 2 meses en hospital y nada. Eso tiene que ser injerto, a sacar y pegar. A este lado, mira también. 2 lados. Sufriendo con llama. Estoy por morirme. No quiero mirar por eso, cuando me hace como se ve esto.
Since the early 90s, over 90% of the lobster caught in Nicaragua has been exported to the United States and sold via distributors like the Cisco Corporation, the largest food service distributor in North America.
Since over 90% of the lobster that's caught in Nicaragua is exported to the U.S. and consumed in the U.S., on a consumer level, we can do a lot to incentivize the industry. Never before have we been so far from the sources of our food. So I think one of our objectives and one of our goals with this film was to educate viewers, to educate an American audience about one source of our food and the value chain or the supply chain behind that, which is, in this case, lobster.
People often ask us, what do we want the film to achieve ultimately? Right? What's the bigger message? I think it's a complicated question. I think when I go back and I think about my experiences on the coast and working with these people and being on the boats and seeing the level of suffering that some of the men experience and the families that experience it, I think there are several ideas at play. One is creating a more diverse economy on the coast. I think there can be a tourism industry within that area, whether it's diving, whether it's deep sea fishing, something that can be brought to the coast and created locally that could help create a more diverse economy for the workforce.
Because the lobster industry is the largest industry along the coast, the industry wields a lot of power. And until there's international pressure or internal pressure or private sector investment in alternatives, I don't think that lobster diving, commercial lobster diving as it exists today, is going to end.
International organizations have attempted to catalyze change in the region, bringing together small-scale fishermen, commercial divers, the lobster industry, and government agencies to promote a conversion to trapping. But nearly all efforts for industry reform have been met with strong resistance and lack of incentive to change.
Yo en lo particular, yo estoy de acuerdo 100% que también se elimine el buceo. Ok, se va a eliminar, pero aquí tenemos esto, ok, trabajen de esta otra manera. Pero quitarlo por quitarlo, yo no creo que sea fácil.
With few economic alternatives along the coast and the absence of government or international pressure to comply, commercial lobster diving is likely to persist despite the new legislation. And it's the Miskito divers and their families that will continue to suffer the consequences.
Airwaves, a global channel of uncompromising stories, world news, documentaries, entertainment, and culture. Link TV, connecting you to the world. For more information, visit linktv.org.